Clemson versus Pitt. Man, I went back and watched it 3 times because a lot of good stuff. And the first thing I want to say is, my God, Cornell Powell. I mean, this is becoming the story. This is like a story of all stories. I mean, this is up there with the Hunter Renfrow type story, to be honest with you. And I just love what he's doing. And when you see that guy catch a 70-yard touchdown, not a touchdown pass because he got tripped up, and he was mad at himself, I know, but a 70-yard catch with one hand, left-handed, by the way, was freaking amazing. And as a fan, just knowing how far he's come, as a member of, podcasting, and asking Dabo Swinney face to face, what is going to take for Cornell Powell to take his Thursday, Friday practices to Saturday in-game experience. And he said he's got to stay committed and believe that he can do it and stay focused. Well, he's doing that and then some. Not just DJ is connecting with him, but Trevor Lawrence is now connecting with him big time. Trevor's already been on good terms with Amari Rodgers. Now he's adding in Cornell Powell, and he's really kind of sprinkling in a little bit of E.J. Williams, as you saw this weekend too. The offense looks great, minus the running game. But the offense looks great. The defense, the running game looked good in the red zone. Not really. I say minus the running game because we have Travis Etienne, and he hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game in like ages. I feel like it's almost been a year from now. But I will say, in the red zone against a pretty stout Pitt defense, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, and Lynn J. Dixon, and even Ches Malusi ran it in there, sometimes untouched. And so, big shout out to Will Putnam. I mean, he was doing really good on that right guard spot and leading the way. And a lot of times they were just marching right in there, two-stepping in. I'm like, wow, we get all the way to the 3-yard line. It's this easy? I want to see more of that, but I want to see it, between the 20s as well. And that's kind of, where I want to see more. But still, great game from the offense. The defense, I mean, Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. Did y'all see the video? Did y'all see the video of Andrew Booth's interception? I mean, I know you saw it real time, but did you see like the replay? It was like he was flying. He was like literally grew wings, angels in the outfield style, and caught that home run ball. He did steal it from Tyler Venables. I think Tyler Venables would have caught that ball, but it was nicer the way he caught it. So I give it to him. But Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. Andrew Booth did great. Trenton Simpson had some good in there. Alan, go ahead and tell us. I'm already guessing that this is one of your top players for the weekend. But Mr. Green, Mr. Freshman of the Week. Of the week. Just go ahead and give us some thoughts about Malcolm Green.
Man, I was all jacked up for Green. I've been on him since the recruiting process. I loved his film. I thought he could play several DB positions. I think that's proven right now, and it's proving out on the field, and he's done a good job. I didn't give him my player of the game on defense, but I did mention him specifically in my little blurb that I wrote up about it. I mean, look, he got the interception, which is an awesome thing, but he's a physical guy. He seems like a Clemson guy, and his eyes are on the quarterback, and I love it. He had an amazing pass breakup. He broke on the ball because he saw where the quarterback was looking. He was able to get the break on the ball, come from behind the receiver, knock down a big pass. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, that's the way you draw it up. That's what you want to see. We've given some Clemson DBs some grief about that, not getting their head around. He didn't have to get his head around. It wasn't a deep pass. But he was watching the quarterback instead of the receiver, which allowed him to make the play when one of their receivers was kind of sitting in the zone. It's a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, I like where this guy's headed. I think he's going to be a huge factor for Clemson going forward.
Yeah, I think he was great. It's kind of crazy that Clemson was able to do all that on defense and have these young bucks kind of step into the ring and not have Darion Kendrick, for whatever reason, wasn't playing, Sheridan Jones and Landon Sanders. And honestly, I say this about Malcolm Green, and this isn't a slight on Landon Sanders. I just feel like Malcolm Green right now looks like the part that you need to have in that back part of your secondary going into a championship run. Landon Zander's great with blitzing. I think he can get to the quarterback really well, and I think he can be used. But I think when you're in pressure situations, Malcolm Green needs to be the guy that you put back there.
Yeah, I'm liking what the defense is doing and how they're kind of, getting healthy is the big key, because you saw some James Skalski, who was a late game, a late morning, I guess, questionable, and he was originally doubtful, then moved to questionable, and then we knew he was suited up, so we kind of thought, there's no way you're letting Skalski have his pads on and not putting that sucker out on the field. He will rip you apart on the sideline if you don't let him play. So I knew he was going to play once he had his pads on. There was no way about it. You couldn't stop him. Tyler Davis, this defense, as we've said for weeks now, completely different when Tyler Davis is on the field. And it is a great thing to watch as well. They just have so much more ability to maneuver their schemes and their alignments and different things, and an attack from different angles because of that one player. It's a crazy the amount of success they have on the defense, and it showed up this weekend, and it helps the pass coverage as well, just having him there too, because they can adjust from a three down lineman to only two, or to four down, and back and forth, and trust that he handles it there. So good to see them getting healthy. So let's go offensive players of the game, defensive players of the game. Go ahead and get in the chat over on YouTube, Facebook, what you think your offensive and defensive players of the game. I already see people in the chat saying what they think. Offensive player of the game for me, Cornell Powell, 6 receptions, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 170-yard one-handed catch. And then defensive player of the game, I'm going to go with Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. One was kind of a tipped pass that he caught on the very edge of the sideline. I was very excited to see what he could do there, staying in bounds. But another one, he completely jumped the route. And you talk about, Alan, all the time about turning your head, looking at what's coming on, paying attention to the whole play. He was not only in the right position, but jumped the route, took it, and intercepted it as well. Really good to see him. He made the ACC, or I believe the Pro Football Focus ACC's defensive back of the week. Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback of the week, and Cornell Powell was the wide receiver of the week, and Malcolm Green was the freshman of the week. So PFF showing a lot of love to Clemson players there. So those are my 2 players of the game. What you guys got?
I agree with you wholeheartedly on both ends. Cornell Powell, how are you going to put anybody else in there that that went 6 receptions, 176 yards and a touchdown? That's fantastic. You could argue Trevor Lawrence if you want, but man, individual performance by Cornell Powell has been unbelievable, and we've been able to say that multiple games for this year, and that just excites me to no end, because we've been waiting for Cornell Powell to break out, and he's finally done it. We were even talking earlier this season about him being a possession type receiver, and thank God he's proven us wrong in a huge, huge way. It's so good to see. But Mario Goodrich the same way. I'm glad to see it for Goodrich for sure. When we were talking preseason about who was going to start opposite Darion Kendrick, I said Mario Goodrich. I believe you went Sheridan Jones. There's a lot of talent at DB. We didn't know Booth was going to break out and be as good as he's been with his injuries. Mario Goodrich has had his injury issues as well. But it's good to see all of these DBs playing and playing well. It's like we can go out and win with almost 3 deep.
So I'm going to switch it up. I know, I agree with all that's been said, but I feel like there's some names that have popped up this past weekend for Clemson that we haven't seen perform this, at a level that we wanted to in a while. And I'll say this first. Morgan, I know that you think the running game didn't play well, but I wholeheartedly disagree. I think we ran the ball really well all day. It's just that Pittsburgh was giving us downfield passing opportunities. You're going to take that. And I think they're working that in, especially for Notre Dame down the road. Notre Dame is going to try to take away the run in the future. They're trying to work on their pass game to be able to attack them more. We were averaging between 3 running backs, 5 yards a carry between Dixon, Etienne, and Malusi. 5 yards a carry. I had almost 150 yards rushing. It's not great, but you're taking what you get, and they did pretty good. And I think one of the people that I think no one's talking about because he looked like his old self the other day is Lynn-J. Dixon, averaging 5 yards a carry. He only had 46 yards, but he ripped off a couple of big runs, 15-yard run in the middle of the game, and he looked like his old self. He finally looked like a threat. at least in the middle of the field. I know it's not flashy, but he looked like his old self. The other person I want to say as far as defense, and nobody's really talked about this yet, and I'm just going to do this because he shapes the defense. Tyler Davis, his presence gets him this award for this week. The defense looks completely different. You have so many different schemes that you can run. I pointed this out to, I believe, both of you guys, but I also pointed this out to my brother. They lined up Trenton Simpson at a defensive end to start the game. And I know that doesn't have to do anything with Tyler Davis, but they're throwing a different look there at Pittsburgh. And I think within the first 2 plays, Clemson got a sack. Just bam, right there. So Tyler Davis changed the mindset of that defense. Everybody was just playing lights out, and I think part of having 13 back on the defense is part of the reason why. So he gets my player of the week this week.
Billy Sigmund jumps in, says Powell gets 100 yards this weekend. He'll hold the record for consecutive 100-yard games. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that one, Houston?
I mean, I don't think there's anyone in Clemson's history that we can compare the progression of Cornell Powell to. We want to talk about Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow went from walk-on to this superstar. Cornell Powell was a relative unknown and has just turned it on. We haven't seen this way. He had a couple of touchdowns. Someone pointed out that he had as many receptions this year as he'd had in his prior 4 years at Clemson, and he's just become an all-star. And it's incredible to see the buy-in in the program that Dabo Swinney has gotten a lot of these players. You'll see someone like this year after year just come out of nowhere, whether that's a Hunter Renfrow, Nolan Turner. This time it's a Cornell Powell who has just decided, I want to play on Sundays and I want to contribute to this team, so I'm going to moss everybody. And I thought the biggest thing to me was I didn't think that DJ's pass at Notre Dame would be topped, but dadgummit, Trevor almost did it with that throw 70 yards down the field, one-handed catch, and it was even enough to where Pat Narduzzi had to comment about it at the end of the game. So you know that they're doing well then.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got to tell you this real quick. I just wanted to get in there. You were talking about a comparison for Cornell Powell. The guy I think about when I think of what he's done, he's kind of been in relative obscurity for his whole career, and then his last season, it seems like he just turns it on. I feel like that's a Kevin Dodd type deal. You didn't hear anything from Kevin Dodd. All of a sudden, he kind of explodes onto the scene his senior year, and I mean, did a phenomenal job at end. I was really looking forward to that. It's these guys that they get to this program and they get outplayed. They get passed on the depth chart, and then they just keep sticking with it. They keep grinding. They keep doing their thing, and all of a sudden, the light comes on. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, you pull that name out there. I mean, I believe that helped him get some time in the NFL more than he probably would have. Yep. And I would even say a Brandon Ford type thing, getting that last year type in there and really showing out. And I mean, what they do, move him to tight end or move him to kind of that inside slot more position, and he flourished there where he was basically getting overlooked every single year. But what's even weirder about this and more exciting about this is that, and it's due to injury, but he has become the outside receiver. They didn't move him around. He made his way to literally the number one guy on the left side by himself. No help. I mean, that is a lot. And the thing is too, he's always been buff. He's always been big. I don't think he's always been able to get separation. And sometimes they mention, well, he got separation a little bit more aggressively than not on some of those plays. I don't really feel that way. I think it's hand fighting, and I think that I want him to continue to do it. Don't listen to those guys, Cornell. Don't listen to those guys. Keep fighting like you're fighting for a scrappy rebound in the Church League basketball championship game. Fight like it's your last game, every game, because you're doing great, man. I mean, just so proud of what you're doing. I know you don't listen to this show, but just say, if you did listen to the show and you Googled yourself, you probably found this show, and we're talking great about you because we love what you're doing this year. People still talking about Malcolm Green now. People still excited about that. I got even comments in here saying that they feel he is better than or could be better than Landon Zanders. Now, those are both young guys, so let's give them a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Let's give them a chance. But Zanders is not somebody that's going to give up his spot either. I think he's got a ton of potential. Huge potential for both players. Want to see them all on the field. And let's just throw in Trenton Simpson as well. Here's my only thing about Trenton Simpson. I mentioned this in the chat. You guys told me it was no big deal. But he did kind of get, like, Ian Book outran him or ran by him. And Kenny Pickett kind of ran by him on two plays together. So I was a little bit concerned with that.
No. All right. I have to defend Trent Simpson and defend his honor from the slander that you put out here on the interwebs. Okay. So first and foremost, Trent Simpson is going to be arguably the greatest linebacker to ever come through Clemson, and I'm calling that right now. And it's not because he's a completely different athlete than Isaiah Simmons. The one thing that sets him apart from Isaiah Simmons is his ability to be able to rush the passer. He's just a freshman, all right? His ability to be flexible and use his shoulders to get past offensive linemen is a huge deal. And part of the reason that he's been outrun by Ian Book and Kenny Pickett, it's not because he's slow. It's because he's a freshman and he's not taking the right angles. It's the one knock on him that he's got to do. You have to get the right pursuit angles on a play like that. And part of the reason why he was in an open field situation where Xavier Thomas had to outrun Kenny Pickett, run past him. Xavier Thomas had a great game, but he still has a little bit of issues running past the quarterback. Kenny Pickett breaks free, and he's having to make this play. Look, step for step, Trenton Simpson was with him. It's just Kenny Pickett got by him trying to take that pursuit angle. And, I mean, look, Kenny Pickett's an athletic quarterback. Same with Ian Book. I mean, we talk about Trevor Lawrence being more of a pocket passer, but when he gets out, he can run. It's the same with Kenny Pickett and Ian Book. And I don't think that's on Trenton Simpson at all. I think he's a phenomenal linebacker the way that he's been playing. And I just think that right now he's just got to learn how to get angles, and he's going to be an All-American like that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right with that for sure. And I think that, it's just those small little things that Brent Venables will be able to get him to adjust and correct, because Brent Venables is like one of those guys. Remember when he first got hired, he talked about one of the most important things is footwork, because if you don't do your footwork right, then it can cause you to be one or two steps behind the person that you're guarding or zone coverage or defending in that situation. And so, as you mentioned, and I completely agree, it's not so much that he's not fast enough, because we know he's like fast and he's super athletic. He's a freak out there. To be able to play at that position in a freshman, is not just because of, it's not really injury. It's because they have linebackers. They have a ton of linebackers. They got Bentley, they got Patterson, they got McGuire, they got those guys out there. But and they got Jones as a starter. But he's out there quickly as a freshman, so that shows some confidence that Brent Venables has. You just got to figure it out. Just got to basically develop. And so these guys, we want them to show up immediately and be like superstars on day one. But it takes some time. But yeah, still a lot of props to him and all the playing time that he's getting. It's just going to help him exponentially grow into next year and beyond as well. Who knows what'll happen? But yeah, again, another player that's got a high ceiling, and those kind of like guys are going to be here for 3 years, 2-3 years down the road. They're still going to be on this team, and they're just going to be seniors and juniors by that point. And it is going to be very nasty, very, very nasty for any opposing offense for sure. So offense and defensive grades, because we kind of got sidetracked there, but grades real quick. I'm giving them both A's. I can't give either side anything lower than an A. Complete domination. Both sides did a great job. 2 fumbles, 4 interceptions for the defense. Trevor Lawrence clicking like crazy. Running games had no issues in the red zone. Like Houston mentioned before, no big time stat in the running game, but really just could move the ball whenever they really wanted to, as far as like in the red zone. And that's what I like to see, because that's when you get points. So I'm giving both A's on my end.
Yeah, I hate agreeing with you on both players of the game and both grades, but I gave them both A's as well. No A plus for the offense, simply because we talked about it. The run game between the 20s wasn't quite as dominant as you want. Etienne wasn't able to break a big one like he usually does. He had like 58 yards, I think, total for the game or something like that. But again, I'm loving the challenge that they manned up to the challenge on the goal line, which is going to be important. It's going to be really important moving forward. Hopefully, this is the same thing. When it's at the 50-yard line and it's 4th and 1. they're able to do that. So as long as we see some improvement in the short game, Etienne's going to get as long as it's just going to take, just going to take some time feeding the ball, whatnot. So I'm good with that. Defense, same way. A lot of INTs, man. I was a little disappointed they let him make that little mini comeback there for a little while. But hey, no, it's good. They did an awesome job. The DBs were everywhere. They were just so solid this game. You got to see more of that in the future. It's amazing when you can bring so many guys out there and still be like it's a starter.
For me, I'm going to go A+ for the defense. No further comments needed there. We've already talked about that. I'm going to give an A- to the offense. We got a little cute for about a quarter, midway through the second, midway to the third, and kind of stagnated there. But the other thing I will say, I'll bump that to an A actually, because 2 of those drives there were terrible calls. Cornell Powell made an outstanding catch on the sideline for them to just go back and take that catch away. And then the catch and throw from Trevor to Amari, that is one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my entire life. Those refs should be ashamed of themselves for that man downfield call. You should let that play stand, let Amari have his touchdown, and let's be talking about a 59-17 game.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Another thing, too, we didn't even mention this. The troll job from Dabo Swinney to watch the team come out with a flea flicker and completely botch it, and then to come out 3 plays later and score a touchdown on a flea flicker play. What was your thoughts on that?
Whoa. You said by Dabo Swinney. All right, this is the mastermind Tony Elliott himself.
Okay.
I'm sure
No,
came up with
Dabo
that.
Swinney said he made the call.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was so excited to come on this show and say something major positive about Tony Elliott, because that was one of the coolest things ever in game, to see the flea flicker and then turn it around on him and be like, hey, no, this is how it's actually supposed to be done, guys. It was amazing to see. It was a great call. It was a cool time to use it too. It was just great all the way around. I think we should be doing more stuff like that. We don't need all the the gimmick trick plays necessarily. We're too good of a team, but hey, just at times when the other teams want to use it on us and it fails, just as a little subtle jab. Okay, it's a cool thing to throw in the game.
Yeah, that's ice cold. I love it. I think at least once a game, when you're not playing like scrub teams, Roast Beef Tech, SC State, whatever, South Carolina, any of those teams, you don't have to like use those gimmicky plays. But if you're playing a conference opponent, doing one a game just to spice things up a little bit, I think that's perfect. And I think doing it 3 plays later is the most ice cold thing I've seen.
And just side note, you mentioned DK. He was in the Love House. I'm not calling it the Dog House.
Love
Dabo
Shack.
Swinney, Love Shack. Yeah, he was in the Love Shack, not the Dog House, but basically the Dog House. Dabo Swinney is still working on some things with him, loving him up, as Dabo said in the press conference. So, showing him some ways to mature and grow as a player and a person on and off the field. We don't know exactly what it was, but that was the reason for, the lack of playing time there.